So there's this idea that keeps getting thrown out there that the universe is a simulation, and sometimes I like entertaining it, other times it's just, so what? I live here, I still have to pay taxes and go to work. I don't like it. But the other day I was doom scrolling, trying to simulate having a life, and I read something pretty interesting. I learned about the demiurge, the child of chaos, Yaldabaoth. This is the god of the Gnostic religion that revolves around hidden knowledge or gnosis. And apparently the way this belief goes, and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, is that he is a lesser god with the body of a serpent and the head of a lion, and he's responsible for creating the physical world. Apparently this was a bad move, right? Because it's just a simulation of an even greater realm. This is a corruption of it. And it's comparable to the way that the metaverse is a lower corruption of our world, right? And I don't know, something about this stuck with me because I've always thought that there's something off with the way everything works. Now, I don't claim to understand it all, really don't. Just a silly monkey running about doing my things. But because of my limited brain, I think of things in a really simplified manner sometimes. When I think about this serpent, I'm thinking it probably looks like that relative to us, smaller and in a lower dimension. Maybe the way that he's seen by the beings of that higher realm is as a worm. You know, instead of a fearsome serpent, he's just a little worm. And it makes me think about how I view worms. Me as an evolved primate, as a bipedal mammal, I can look at a worm and see it as a very simple type of being, a very simple organism. I'm going to think of it back in the terms of simulated environments. Let's talk about the very first Nintendo, the Nintendo Entertainment System. Now, when that console came out, it was revolutionary, right? Everybody wanted Mario, everybody wanted Duck Hunt. Throughout its lifespan, though, it was limited to the 8-bit technology of the time. So, no matter how complex games got, they had to stay within that framework, within that dimension, that simulated environment. The next dimension we can think of is the Super Nintendo that came afterwards. 16-bit, much more powerful console. All of the games here from the Nintendo increased in complexity, right up until Kirby. Now Kirby and Super Mario, both great games, world of difference in terms of complexity. However, this Kirby game could not compete with the level of complexity from the Super Nintendo, all of the possibilities it could afford. But then comes the Nintendo 64. Even more powerful. Now we have simulated 3D environments. Something that the Mode 7 chip of the Super Nintendo could never fully create to the scale that the 64 did. However, let's look at the gameplay itself from Mario 64. Even though it's in a 3D environment, the simplicity kind of converges with the level of simplicity that the first Mario game could afford. There were a lot of different things from the Super Nintendo era that could not translate into the Nintendo 64. For example, Yoshi. Again, we've got the Super Nintendo, Mario's already riding Yoshi. Go to the Nintendo 64, Mario's got all sorts of crazy jumps, he interacts in a 3D world, but all he does is collect stars and coins. There are very few enemies, and at the end of the day, Yoshi's in it, but just at the end of the game. And you cannot ride him. And then he doesn't even stay there, he hops away. I was so pissed when I was a kid. The system couldn't afford that, because it was a new realm, a new playing field. At the end of the day, when things transcend to that new dimension, the third dimension, everything gets simple again. Even though it's much more complex in many ways, there is still a degree of simplification. So what am I trying to say here? This child of chaos, this Yaldabaoth, he isn't this all-knowing, omnipotent energy. He's kind of like a misbehaving kid that's messing with things he doesn't understand. A worm there, a serpent to us, right? We're looking at it from the edge of one simulation into another, if that's the case, right? And maybe somebody had a vision of it once, and they couldn't understand what they were seeing, and they related it in ways that we would understand. What if it just geometrically looked like a virus, and the person's trying to make sense of it? I mean, people looking up at the sky a long time ago say that there's a bear over here and a hunter over here, and I just see little lions. Maybe I'm not a visionary like that, right? And I think that's a pattern that we follow as people in general, where we ascribe a greater status or this transcendental quality to people or to things in realms that are so high we don't understand. With the wealth disparity as it is today currently in the world, a lot of people do this with like our tech pioneers, the billionaires in Silicon Valley. They can do no wrong. They're like children of chaos, right? And they're right now tampering with these metaverses. Not just Facebook's metaverse, right? A metaverse is Roblox. A metaverse could be Grand Theft Auto 6. It's a simulated environment. These are worse versions of a world that actually exists. So again, there it is. The worm created a worse version of whatever is out there that we can't possibly comprehend, and we're stuck here in this corrupted material world. And people believe different things, right? There are people that believe this is a godly plane. Hey, I love that. That seems like a beautiful way to view the world. Now, I do want to mention that I'm not a follower of this religion. I just find the concepts kind of interesting to me because they explain the world in a way that makes sense to me. And the world, as we know it, is such a strange thing to make sense of in our waking life, but also in our dreams. And this leads me to another thing. I've had some strange dreams throughout my life. It's really a question for me. What reality are we entering? Is there weight to those places we're in? I think about Harry Potter when Harry meets Dumbledore in what seems to be the afterlife, and he tells him something like,
Professor, is this all real? Or is it just happening inside my head?
Of course it's happening inside your head, Harry. Why should that mean that it's not real?
Thinking about dreams in that way is kind of curious. The dreams themselves are simulations that my brain conjures up. They are crude recreations of the world that I know. I'm going to talk about a couple dreams I have had and how that relates to my experience in this world, in this realm, in this simulation. I've had a few strange dreams throughout my life. One, I was in a restaurant just minding my business. The lighting was kind of off, kind of dark, and the waiter was pushing a cup in my face. Drink this. And I was going to drink it, and then my cousin came running in. He says, don't drink that, don't drink that. You'll get stuck here. And then other people started drinking it, and then they became zombies. And they started chasing me and my cousin. It didn't make sense, but I didn't drink the water, right? Kind of weird. But then that theme comes back in another dream that I had. And this time, I was in my apartment, minding my business. I was going to turn on the tap. This one felt real, by the way. This was a lucid experience. I could touch the faucet. I could feel the cold water running through my hands. And I remember I was serving myself a cup of water. Somebody came, one of my friends that I had been rooming with at the time. Don't drink that. Don't drink that. Don't drink that. You'll get stuck here. I remember thinking, well, okay, I won't drink it. And I would look outside, and the window was totally like psychedelic. It was just colors. It looked like an acid trip, or that sequence at the end of 2001, A Space Odyssey. It was wild. Because I didn't drink the water, though, in that dream, the door opened, and some militarized police force barged in and started beating me to death. And then I was there again. It was the same dream, same layout. I'm gonna get a water. My friend comes. Don't drink that. I told you not to drink that. You'll get stuck here. And it kept going on. I called this type of dreams boot loops because it would end and it would start right back at the beginning. And I would get stuck in these. But there was an emphasis again of not drinking the water. And then death seemed to be the release somehow. I don't know. But at the end of that dream, I remember I was at the baseline. I was camping outside of a desert adobe structure with a couple of friends, and we were all chatting and everything was at peace. I had one more, and this one was weird too. There was a thick muck that I was stepping over. It was just filthy. And then I noticed all of the buzzing, and there was flies and little bits of meat just spackled onto the wall. And then a horrible scent emanating from the fridge. I opened the door, and it's just rot. It's just organs and rotting flesh. I remember that I ran out of there, and then there's these two entities. They looked like twins. They looked like Greek goddesses of some sort. They did not acknowledge me. One of them was smiling with a big, sick grin. The other one had like one of those scowls. They looked like the masks, right, from the theater masks. They were eating this fresh fruit, drinking this crystal clear water, and I wanted it, but they took it away from me. They didn't say anything, but when I woke up, I knew I was going to stay there if I drank that, if I ate that. And that makes me think of Hades and Persephone, where because she eats the food in the underworld, she gets stuck a certain amount of months out of the year, and so that's why we have seasons, winter being representative of death. It makes me think about that, or it makes me think about the origin in the Bible, right, where Eve eats from the tree of wisdom, and then now death exists in the world and knowledge comes with it. This idea of eating and drinking to get stuck someplace, it feels like maybe it's a universal thing, because in order to remain alive, which we see as a beneficial thing, right, we have to eat and drink. We have to remain healthy in that sense. But you can see it in that twisted manner. The more you continue to feed your body to drink, you'll stay alive, you'll stay stuck here. So if we're stuck in this simulation and our life force is sourced from a higher realm, if this is the case, if this is a lower dimension, a corrupted physical realm, death is included as a way perhaps to remove that energy and send it back to the source. There's a cycle of, I think it's samsara, that cycle of rebirth. It sees the world as a prison. It seems like the reincarnation is almost like a curse, and the goal is to escape that. I could be, again, mistaken, so if anybody knows more about that, I would love to understand that. And this is something that is present in so many types of stories and so many of the legends that we have, but also even in some more contemporary works. Inception, the way that people escaped the dreams was by dying. Danjiro from Demon Slayer had to escape a sleep demon by slitting his throat or by killing himself. I don't remember if he slit his throat. That's how the characters leave the simulation. And it's funny because a lot of religious messiahs, from what I understand in many different religions, they talk about source in one way or another. They call it things like heaven or nirvana, but they describe a source of life. It almost seems like life itself is just a strange illusion. So, do I think that this is a simulation created by an irresponsible or immature being? I don't really know. Do I think that this place is corrupted to a certain extent? Yes, but maybe that's what the whole point is. Maybe this is a place we go to face certain trials, to understand certain lessons. Maybe we're not framing the corruption correctly. Maybe there is beauty in the way that life flows from one being to the other. I don't know. Some days the sun shines and everything looks beautiful. Other days the light hits somebody casting a very strange shadow. What I can say is this: whether or not this is or this isn't the case, we should still cling on to this dimension, this realm, this simulation, because there's a lot of beauty in it too. And maybe we're missing something, you know? If you are playing on your Steam account Baldur's Gate or something very AAA, really impressive for this time at least, you might not see the value in playing Donkey Kong or Super Mario Brothers on the NES. But there's a lot of value in that game too. It's a very fun game. The stuff in the Super Nintendo era, there's some beautiful games there. There are all sorts of beautiful video games. We don't have to worry about things being at the highest level. Wherever we find ourselves, whatever we're playing, we should enjoy it, whether we're children of chaos, the creations of children of chaos, or whether there's something bigger at play. We should enjoy it.